What simple plot hole ruined the whole movie for you? Bruce Wayne being completely broke in A Dark Knight Rises because his share trading was allowed to stand despite the fact that there was a terrorist attack on the stock exchange. You can leave the country, The Purge, no one tries to do fraud during those hours, what a waste of potential. In Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, they explain that if you give away the magic compass, it releases your worst fear. Jack's worst fear is Salazar and his crew, so they are freed from the Devil's Triangle when Jack trades the compass for rum. But Jack willingly gave away the compass multiple times in the previous movies, and Salazar was not freed. But to be fair, the exact words were if you betray the compass, and since Jack plans out everything, maybe in the previous movies he knew he would get the compass back. In TNT, he trades it away forever. How the hell did Austin Powers get that little truck completely sideways in that hallway? Why do the cars have doors, or seats? The film Tiptoes, yes, the one where Academy Award-winning actor Gary Oldman walks around on his knees pretending to be a person with dwarfism. The whole premise of that film is that a couple, both average-sized, find out they're having a kid, and it is revealed that the fiancé's family are all dwarfs, which freaks him out, with the idea of his child being a dwarf too. Throughout the film it's them coming to terms with the possibility. Yeah, you can't carry dwarfism, it is a dominant trait, either you have it, and are visibly a dwarf, or you do not have the gene at all. Watching this as a dwarf myself was the dumbest experience I've ever had. Edit. As a caveat to this, there are literally hundreds of different medical conditions which fall under the definition of dwarfism, and there will be forms which are recessive, but the forms of dwarfism that the family has, achondroplasia/hypochondroplasia, they have a mixture, do not fall under that and are dominant forms. In Primer, why didn't Guy 2 in Timeline 4 come back to Timeline 3 and destroy the box so Guy 1 in Timeline 8 couldn't go back in time to Timeline 5 and fold the box into Timeline 6? In Philadelphia, Andrew Beckett successfully sues his company for wrongful dismissal after they discover he has AIDS, except, it's made incredibly clear that it wasn't cause of his AIDS. They fire him for being gay. Even the defense makes that point. At that time in Philadelphia, it was 100% legal to fire someone for being gay. The trial should have ended oppositely. Jeepers Creepers, the monster guy has a scary truck with a license plate that says Beatengu. Are we to believe this demon monster went into the DMV or wherever to get this? And why would he drive anywhere? He has wings. Edit. More info. The characters read the Beatengu as be eating you, which turns out to be a warning because he does eat PPL. In the American Ring movie, the key plot point for the ghoul is that she's at the bottom of the well and the last thing she sees is a ring of light as they slide the covering over the top. The well top is thick brick. The round wooden cover is larger than the hole, obviously, or it would fall down and be a terrible well lid. They clearly slide the lid over the well. It should have been called the Crescent. I couldn't get over it the whole movie. Somehow, Palpatine has returned. A Quiet Place. I can't believe aliens would hear you whisper but can't hear your bare feet pad across the ground. Your general breathing. Your stomach never making involuntarily noises. Your elbows, knees, fingers etc. never popping on their own. It's like they convince you that the hearing is so astute, but even a dog can hear a creature shuffling nearby when we can't. Seems completely illogical to want me to believe they can hear you whisper, but either they can't hear your stomach growl or you somehow managed to stop it from making any noises, ever. And not a plot hole. But if it's the fucking end of the world and the chances are not in your favor for surviving, maybe it's not a good time to get laid without any prevention of pregnancy. Don't be fucking morons. Why does someone always get pregnant? In X-Men you can't use Cerebro on Magneto, which I'm 100% fine with because the helmet, but you could use it on someone like Sabretooth who is standing right next to Magneto. Pacific Rim. The breach is in one known location, never moves, yet for some reason they decide to build walls or use jeggers as a last line of defense once the kaiju are already out. Why not have a bunch of jeggers on rotation stood next to the breach and blast the kaiju to bits the moment they pop out, or better yet, have a whole bunch of those plasma cannons aimed at the breach. It's such a glaring plot hole that it put me off the whole film. Like yeah, we've seen now with COVID how bad we can be at handling global threats, but surely not this bad? Gravity, so many mistakes. The one that stands out is George Clooney floating away at rapid speed after he detaches himself from Sandra Bullock. That just doesn't happen. He'll still be going at the same speed as he was before. Who TF is pushing him away? Dust storms of destructive magnitudes can't happen on Mars, but Matt Damon can still play one hell of a botanist. Not sure why nobody ever talks about the fact that at midnight the glass slipper would turn back to a normal shoe just like the dress, carriage, horses and everything else did. Gremlins had the how far after midnight? Question, but that's more of an unanswered question than a plot hole. The animated Beauty and the Beast, in Be Our Guest, The Candleman, it's been a long time since I've watched it, I forget his name, says they've been rusting for 10 years, well, that means the Beast was 11 when he turned the witch, enchantress, away. Also, the Beast was not an 11-year-old king, as it states he was a prince. Where were his parents? I get that he should be nice, but I was an edgy, mean 11-year-old too. Also, when Belle is singing Belle, she starts singing to the sheep at one point. Oh, isn't this amazing? It's my favorite part because you'll see, here's where she meets Prince Charming, but she won't discover that it's him till chapter 3, when she is singing that. We are given a clear view of Belle's book, and we see an entire page is covered in an illustration. Also, the illustration explains pretty well what's going on. Later, Gaston asks Belle, how can you read this? It doesn't have any pictures. Yes it does, it has pictures detailed enough that even Gaston could understand what was happening in that scene. 28 weeks later, really, no one was guarding the wife who had just been rescued from the infected zone. They were wary of her enough to strap her down, but not enough to order a guard to watch her even though they did so for the 2 kids. Right, there were no guards all the way in the building when the dad got infected until he got out and bit enough people to create a group of infected? Also, when they locked the civilians in the room, why was the dad alone when he banged on the back doors that so coincidentally his son peeked out of, as though he wandered the place by himself and found himself there? So somehow he's special, managing to retain some form of sentience even after getting infected? I would think after he got infected and started biting people, he would just disappear into the hordes of infected. It completely pissed me off. I stopped watching halfway through. Walking Dead whenever they have 10 versus 2000 zombie scenes. I mean, you cannot kill that many zombies with just knife, it will break. In Back to the Future 2, if the old man Biff went back in time to give himself the sports almanac, how did he go back to the future to put the time machine back for Marty in the dock? At this point, wouldn't he only be able to go into the now new future where Biff is rich? The Dark Knight Rises. Bruce Wayne going completely broke makes absolutely no sense. Him losing his stock value after the stock market was robbed should be an instant red flag to the authorities. How he lost his house I don't get. You're telling me the Wayne family has a mortgage on the thing and they don't own it outright? You legally cannot shut off the water and lights that fast. How is Bruce broke when he wrote a check to buy a restaurant 2 movies prior? That check means he has a bank account, right? And they towed his car the day he is declared broke. Again, can you legally do that? And you're telling me Bruce fucking Wayne is still making car payments on that car and didn't pay cash for the full amount when he decided he wanted it? Normally I would be all it's what a movie writer thinks happens when you go broke. Whatever, but this trilogy prides itself on realism so much. This major plot point being this unrealistic bugs me so much. In that first Tomb Raider movie with Angelina Jolie, if the two halves off magic triangle thing are pieced together, It's an ultimate dangerous weapon. It must be destroyed. She finds one half early on. Rest of the movie, they have to track down the guy with the other half. Just destroy the half you do have, then the other half that he has will be rendered useless. How does Edward get an erection in Twilight? Narrator's map. Fred and George saw a Peter Pettigrew sleeping with Ron every night on the map. Het, the twins never said a word but they knew who he was. Ben Affleck on Armageddon. Wouldn't it be easier to train astronauts to be drillers than it would be to train oil drillers to be astronauts? Michael Bay, shut the fuck up. I mean, the movie was already ruined, but in The Last Airbender when the Earthbenders were imprisoned at some kinda camp until the Uviatar On comes by and tells them they just need to believe in themselves or something. In TWD, how the fuck did Rick survive his coma? It's implied that it lasted at least a month, and he had no nurses or anybody giving him fluids or nutrients, so how did he live? Maybe not really a plot hole, but Colin Farrell's character in Minority Report. Colin Farrell is an Irish actor with an Irish accent in real life. The character he plays, Agent Danny Whitworth, mentions he saw his father shot in the steps of his church in Dublin, Ireland when he was 15. There were several lines in the movie referring to him being Irish and living in Ireland until his teens. Yet, in the movie he has an American accent. Why? At first I thought, well, this is the future and maybe they've Americanized everyone's accents. But no, there are characters with English, British, accents. Just why? I've looked all over online and I've found absolutely no explanation for this. It drives me insane randomly even when I'm not watching the movie, and I'm starting to feel like I'm the only person on the planet that's noticed this. Star Wars, C-3PO and R2-D2 in the prequels, creates so many plot holes. Sure, they wiped the memories of the droids, but what about all of the main characters they interacted with? Old Ben Kenobi doesn't recognize a R2 unit that helped save his life on many previous occasions? Edit spelling.